friends! Today I'm going to work on something different than my own project cars, because today I'm going to restore the interior from a Volvo 850 T5R. I'm going to get started today with the front seats, and as you can see, this one has quite a bit of damage and the other one too, even though it's a bit less bad. But the biggest problem is that these seats have the wrong color. Well, this part does, because as you can see, this is the original color and it's a grayish color, but this has been repainted and it's now a bluish kind of black. And of course we want the original color back. So I'm going to change that, and of course I'm going to fix these damages. Now the first thing I'm going to do is thoroughly sand this interior. Now I do gotta sand it thoroughly because it's the wrong color, so I gotta remove this paint. But if you're doing this yourself, you still gotta sand it just to prep it for new paint, because we're going to be repainting these seats. And by the way, quick little disclaimer, I'm not a professional in this or anything. I'm just telling you what I've learned through experience by doing this quite a few times. So I think this won't be the perfect way to do it, but it will be a way to get you some decent results. As you can see, that already looks a whole lot better after sanding, just because the color is now correct. Oh, and by the way, this video probably looks like I've been sanding for only a minute, but it took me half an hour, so that gives you an indication of how long this can take. Now on to step 2, which is to clean and degrease this seat. And by the way, I will leave the links to all of these projects I'm using in the description. Next up, I'm going to apply some filler to the deep scratches only. And with the deep scratches, I'm talking about scratches like these and not scratches like these, because I don't want this entire seat to be just Bondo and some paint on top of it. So I'm just going to cover these so that the seat looks all nice and clean again. Now I used to use a small spatula to apply the filler, but on my last video where I did an interior restoration, I got a lot of comments that I should use my finger and a clean glove. So that's what I'm going to try today, because that should give you a more smooth surface. So let's try, because I do listen to you guys. Now I must say that this way of applying filler is a whole lot quicker, so that's nice, because on my 850R interior I've spent hours just putting filler on the driver's seat, and I feel like this is going to take me a whole lot less time. So that's nice. Like I said, sometimes I do listen. Not all the time, because I do get a whole lot of advice in my comments, but sometimes I do like the way I do certain things, so I don't want to change them up. Alright, I am done applying filler to those deep scratches in the seat, and some scratches needed multiple layers, but now I gotta leave that to dry before I can go and repaint the seat, and in the meantime I'm going to prep this one. I am done applying filler to the second seat, and now it needs some more time to dry. I've only applied filler on this front side, by the way. Now, like I said, the filler on both seats still needs some time to dry, so I'm not going to sand that down just yet. But what I can do in the meantime is get started on all of the other parts that I haven't used filler on, because we still got to repaint every single other part of this seat. So let's go and start with that. Now onto the leather paint, and this time I'm going to use the right color, which is off black. Now what you want to do, it's actually pretty easy. You want to shake the bottle really well. And then you just want to put some of this on a little sponge. You don't have to use too much. And then you want to lightly dab it onto the surface. Now you can also rub it on, but I find that you get the best result by dabbing it, so you don't get any paint swirls in it. Now you want to start off with just a single layer on the entire surface, and then once that's dry you can go over it a couple more times, but don't overdo it because you don't want it to get too thick and fill up the little, what you call it, leather texture. And that's it. Now you just want to do this entire process on every single part of the seat, of course, and I'm just dividing it into a couple of sections so that you don't forget which parts you've done already. As you can see, this does dry pretty quickly if the temperature's high. And if you like, you can speed up the process with a hair dryer, but you usually don't need to do that as it dries this quickly. And if you're doing an entire seat, once you've done all of these sections, I think the first one will be dry. Also, do be careful not to dye the Alcantara, because that looks really ugly, so do be careful on the edges. This is the result after one layer of leather dye, except for this part, because like I said, there's filler on there. But as you can see, it's really starting to look good, and it looks even better because it's the right color now. Now I'm gonna go and repeat the process once more, because I usually do 2 layers, and that will cover all of the blemishes, and then I'll get back to you guys. And that's it after the second layer of color, and it looks amazing in my opinion. Almost like new. Now I do want to leave the filler a couple more hours to dry, so now I'm gonna go and do the same to the other seat, and then we'll get back to this seat to do the remaining part. On this seat I've applied filler to all of these parts, so I'm gonna go and paint the top side of the seat, and of course those parts. I don't know what you call specific parts of a seat, but I think you get what I mean. Let's go and paint them. Round 1 of paint. And that's it after round 2. I don't even know if you can see the difference on camera, but I can clearly see the difference after 2 rounds, because it has a way better coverage. Now my plan was actually to go and sand down all of the filler I've applied to the seats and then put some paint on the rest of those parts. But I've decided not to take any risks and to just let it dry for 24 hours, because that's what the product describes. So I'm going to let it dry, and then I'll get back to you tomorrow to finish the rest. All right? See you tomorrow. All right, I am back, so we can now go and finish these seats. I'm going to get started by sanding the filler, because as you can see, the filler did fill up these cracks very nicely, but there's also filler on the leather itself, and we want that to be gone. So I'm going to be sanding until there's only filler left in these cracks. And after sanding, it's supposed to look something like this. Now let's clean this seat once more. And then we can finally go and put the final layer of paint on there. Well, I think you know the drill by now, so I'm gonna go over all of these parts twice and then I'll get back to you to show you the final result. I quickly did the other seat off camera too, and this is the final result. Now, after torturing these seats for 2 days straight, I do like to care for it a bit. So I am going to apply some leather nutrient, and then when that dries, I'm going to apply some color sealant to keep the color long lasting. But I'm not going to do that right now because I do want the paint to fully settle and dry before I do that. But then you know what my following steps will be. I do still gotta do the rest of the interior, but I don't want to bore you guys too much because I think you got the point. So I will try to film an before and after while doing the back seat. But that's it for today. I hope you learned something and thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and I hope to see you next time. Bye!